On the night of Friday, March 7, 2025, the Piper Arms pub in Scarborough, Ontario was supposed to be a place of celebration. It was the grand opening of the new establishment, located at 520 Progress Avenue. Anticipation turned to horror at approximately 10:40 p.m. when gunfire erupted inside the crowded pub. 3 masked gunmen, their faces hidden from view, stormed into the bar. Chaos ensued as the gunmen opened fire on the unsuspecting patrons. 2 of the assailants brandished handguns, while the third carried a more powerful assault rifle. The sound of shattering glass mixed with the deafening roar of gunshots as people scrambled for cover. Witnesses described a scene of panic and terror, with screams echoing through the pub as people desperately tried to escape the hail of bullets. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The gunmen, their motives unknown, fled the scene in a silver car, leaving behind a horrifying scene of blood and broken glass. In the aftermath of the shooting, emergency services rushed to the scene, sirens wailing as they navigated through the streets of Scarborough. Paramedics tended to the wounded, while police officers secured the area, their faces grim as they surveyed the carnage. 12 people lay injured, 6 suffering from gunshot wounds, and 6 others injured by shattered glass. Thankfully, none of the injuries were considered life-threatening. The victims, ranging in age from their 20s to their mid-50s, were transported to local hospitals for treatment. As news of the shooting spread, a sense of shock and disbelief gripped the city of Toronto. Toronto Police Superintendent Paul McIntyre, of the Organized Crime Enforcement Unit, addressed the media, his voice heavy with the gravity of the situation.
It's 10:39 p.m. this evening. We received numerous 911 calls to attend the pub here behind me for a mass shooting. When officers arrived on scene, they discovered 12 individuals suffering from various injuries. Those individuals were transported to local hospitals. I can tell you right now, our preliminary investigation reveals that 3 males entered the pub just before 10:40. 1 male was armed with what appears to be an assault rifle. The other 2 males were armed with handguns, and they walked into the bar, they produced their guns, and they opened fire indiscriminately on the people sitting inside the restaurant, inside the bar. Motive for this investigation, or for this shooting right now, remains unclear. We're chasing down all leads. I can tell you this was a brazen and reckless act of violence that's really shaken our community in the city itself. Myself and the other officers that watched the video, we are horrified by it. We've seen a lot of shootings over the years, a lot of video. You get inured to it to a certain extent, but tonight's shooting, these guys just looked at the crowd and opened fire. It was horrible. So I can tell you right now, we're leaving no stone unturned. I'm encouraging anybody that has any information whatsoever, dash cam video, any kind of information. Front was like any particular pub, people sitting down in booths, at tables, with friends, drinks on the table, food on the table, people standing at the bar, and all of a sudden when the shooting happens, everybody, like you said, they're ducking for cover or they're falling on the floor because they've been struck. When officers arrived on scene, there were some people laying on the floor, there were others sitting in the booth or the chairs, sitting where they had been shot. There's glass walls that are shattered, there's blood all over the floor. Some people ran to the basement before the police got here hiding, so there's blood in the basement. It's a big scene, it's a messy scene.
Olivia Chow echoed these sentiments, calling the shooting deeply troubling.
I want to begin this morning by saying my thoughts with those affected by the shooting in Scarborough. I'm deeply troubled by this mass shooting. Late last night, I spoke with Chief Demkew, and he confirmed all necessary resources have been deployed. I can confirm that 12 people have been injured and taken to hospital, including 6 with serious gunshot wounds. My thoughts are with the victims and their families. I am closely monitoring the situation and remain in touch with Chief Demkew. Further updates will come from the Toronto Police.
As the investigation into the Piper Arms shooting got underway, Detectives from the Toronto Police Service worked tirelessly to piece together the events of that chaotic night. The pub, now a crime scene, was cordoned off with yellow tape as forensic teams meticulously combed the area for evidence. The motive for the shooting remained a mystery, leaving investigators to grapple with a number of possibilities. Were the owners of the pub targeted? Was a patron inside the intended victim? Or was this a random act of violence, a terrifying example of the indiscriminate nature of gun crime? The shooting came at a time when Toronto had been experiencing a surge in gun violence, particularly within the towing industry. Just a week before the Piper Arms shooting, the city had been shaken by a series of shootings connected to disputes over towing territories. While there was no immediate evidence linking the Piper Arms shooting to the recent tow truck violence, the incident served as a chilling reminder of the pervasive nature of gun crime in Toronto. The shooting sparked a citywide conversation about gun control and public safety, with many residents expressing concerns about the increasing brazenness of gun violence. Community leaders and politicians alike called for action, urging for stricter gun laws and increased support for law enforcement. The shooting at the Piper Arms pub was not an isolated incident, but rather a symptom of a larger societal issue. It was a stark reminder that even in a bustling metropolis like Toronto, violence can erupt in the most unexpected of places, shattering lives in an instant. As the city grappled with the aftermath of the shooting, one thing was clear: the fight against gun violence was far from over.